Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Mark.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome to a new feature on the channel this year, and as you can tell, obviously with his introduction in there, we have a big change to the channel this year, and Mark is coming onto our channel. He's going to join and be doing some videos with us, but the main thing that Mark will be doing is his general expertise of the F2, F3 and Junior series in general, bringing that to the channel, and we will be covering that. And so this will be the start of our kind of looking forward to the season of F2, F3. There seems a lot of hype and a lot of excitement for these seasons, this current season's coming up. And so we thought in today's video what we're going to look at is the teams themselves within F2 and F3 and why it is so important, although it is a same spec series, to be within the right team within that. But Mark, first of all, welcome to the channel.
Pleasure to be a part of it, officially.
I know, it's like we've done a few as kind of collaborations before, and then just kind of coming on as chats, and now you're just part of the channel. You're part of the furniture.
Yep, there's no escaping it now.
Exactly. So like I said, guys, we're going to talk about F2 and F3 and mainly focus on the teams. So Mark, do you want to explain the fact about it being the same spec series, but why the teams aren't still that quite of a level playing field?
Okay, with F2 and F3 it's a spec series, which means all the cars are fundamentally the same. But it does matter to the driver which team they get into, because each team would have a different budget, which would lead to different mechanics, different driver engineers, and a whole new level of support for that driver. So, I mean, let's look at F3. The MP Motorsports drivers would not receive the same level of support, equipment, training as Prema, for example.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Prem are obviously historically linked with Ferrari in terms of being a kind of place for the Ferrari junior drivers to kind of sit and come through. And Ferrari of recent, you just kind of look at comparison of Red Bull, who were the shining light in terms of it. Ferrari juniors, I think we spoke about this in the day with the day one. They have 5 juniors competing in F2 this year. And obviously 2 of them in Prema, but again, I think they have another 2 or 3 with Prema in F3.
I mean, I'm just going to get up next year's confirmed drivers, but I believe, yeah, you're right, but let's see where each of them have gone, because this will feed into future videos. So if we look at ART's got Marcus Armstrong, another very strong team. Prema's got both Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman, also quite strong. Well, Prema is, I'd argue, my standout favourite. You've also got Virtuosi with Callum Ilott, who raced last year, or it is last year now, and put on a very strong performance in the latter half of the season. And then you have Giuliano Alesi in the rebranded Arden team, which is now HWA Race Labs, which, depending on, HWA is mainly partnered with Mercedes, depending on how much attention Mercedes wants to pay it in its future driver development, it could turn into a very strong team as well. So I would say all the Ferrari juniors have a very strong team behind them this year.
I'd agree with that completely. The Prema haven't won a driver title since Charles Leclerc won it 2 years ago now. Obviously, we've had Nick De Vries and George Russell as champions in between that. But I think with their current driver lineup, a lot of people are excited by Robert Schwartzman and obviously Mick Schumacher generally performs better in that second season. Prema definitely look like one of the teams to look out for.
I'd say Prem and Virtuosi.
Yeah, because obviously Virtuosi, we'll talk more about drivers. We're going to go through all the drivers individually and look out in future videos. But yeah, the Virtuosi racing team lineup is Zhao and Callum. Obviously had Jota there last year.
Zhao's all but confirmed.
Yeah.
It's basically the same as this year with the second Williams seat. We all knew who was going to go in it. It wasn't official, but everyone knows.
Yeah. So
that's the best way to put it. It's not official, but it's official.
Pretty much, and that's a pretty strong driver lineup, and they were a team that proved they used to be Russian timed, didn't they? Russian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were Russian timed, and Virtuosi came in as a partner, and then eventually took over.
Yeah. So obviously they were competing up towards the top end as well, because did Jota actually finish third in the end?
Jota, I think he did. I believe so.
So that's not bad for them in terms of that. So yeah, Prema and Virtuosi both have very strong drivers lineups. But I suppose the next teams to look at in F2 would be ART. Obviously, the previous two winners of... Yeah, and Marcus Armstrong would be my favourite. He's the only one confirmed there at the moment, isn't he?
Yes. I'm not sure who will get that second seat. I mean, it's really up in the air.
Who would you say the candidates for the seat would be?
For F2, I mean, I think you've got to look at F3.
Yep.
To be fair, I don't think we're going to see anyone jump from F4 into F2. Oh, not confirmed, but looking very, very likely is Lundgaard.
That's the one I've been hearing that it's going to be.
He's very good. I reckon he's definitely F1 quality.
Yeah. So that's the one that will probably secure and be the partner in there. But ART, obviously, very highly funded team, very successful team within it as well.
Heard talks that Red Bull is going to basically Pierre Gasly, Yuri Vips, and send him to F2 and Super Formula.
Okay, so Yuri Vips might hold that seat for some of the season then.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, that's what I heard, that they're going to just... that's the best way I'm going to describe it now. Pierre Gasly him.
That sounds the best way to do it. So we've looked at Prema, we've looked at Virtuosi, we've looked at ART, the team who won the team championship last year, and probably with one of the most controversial lineups this year, is Dams Racing. So yeah, obviously they have Dan Ticktum and Galau as their two drivers. What are your thoughts on Dams as a team?
Extremely strong, one of the best teams in F2 for funding. Actually has one of the best histories as well. Very strong team in general. But this lineup is very counter F2. Dams is treating it less like a feeder series and more like a team's championship for the drivers they've gone for. Because Ticktum has an outside chance of making it to F1 now thanks to his Williams partnership. But Gaio is going to get nowhere near F1.
Yeah, Galau was a pretty disappointing one for me. But I suppose losing both drivers like Latifi and Sete Camara, I think they just wanted an experienced seat, and yeah, like you said, I think their focus was treating it like winning another team championship for Dan's, which with the two drivers, they're very capable of doing again next year.
No, Dan is. I don't think Galeo is. I mean, we all saw how many times he absolutely ruined people's races this last season. Sorry, it's still too close to the New Year to tell the years apart.
That certainly is, but yeah, no, I can agree with that. But we'll talk lesser. We'll talk more about him as a driver when we break down the drivers. But Dams, those for me are the top 4 teams within Formula 2 who will be fighting or have drivers capable of fighting for the title, just because of the setup they have behind them, and also with the personnel that they have in the team, the funding that those teams will receive.
One thing I will say is never discount Carlin.
Well, obviously they had Lando Norris, didn't they, the season before last.
Depending on who they pick up, Carlin has a tendency to pick up really good drivers and shake up the team's battle.
So they would be the outside bet for one at the moment, because it very much does depend on that. But they've been around F2, and obviously they're in F3 as well. They've been around these junior series for a long time.
They're always around the championship. They're either challenging for it or just off the pace of challenging it.
Exactly, yes. And I haven't seen. Have they confirmed anyone yet for Carlin?
They haven't confirmed anyone, but I can see them keeping their same lineup, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, Matsushita is pretty good. He was getting better last year.
And obviously he's a Honda back driver as well, isn't he? So that brings money into Carlin.
Yeah. So if they keep their same lineup, then I'd say no. If they change it, then I'd say possibly.
Okay. So yeah, Carlin, a British team as well, aren't they? So we go through ART and Dams are both French teams. Virtuosi, are still classified as a Russian team? They're now
classified as a
British team. Okay, and then so the British Carlin there, and Prem are obviously very, very Italian team as well. We probably move on to a team that probably some people, if they don't follow F2, they would have been heard the name bandied about a bit, with the thoughts that they might push up to Formula 1 team as well, which is Campos Racing, and the main driver for them will be next season Jack Aitken, I believe, probably.
Yes, but I think he's going to be challenged by an amazing teammate, which I will mention in a later video. I'll get more detail into it in Mariano Sato, who literally last year dominated Euro Formula Open. So that's why I think Jack Aitken could be on for a very tight battle with his teammate next year.
I think you're probably right in terms of that aspect. And Jack Aitken, I feel like it's for him making the step up to F1. It's make or break this year. We've proven with obviously Markelov and Galal that you can just hang around in F2, even if your likelihood of progressing further up is unlikely. He'd unlikely unless he suddenly gets huge backing to do a Latifi coming in late to Williams. So yeah, he's part of the Renault program, but he will be the driving force and the one probably challenging for the wing for Campos, unless Sato really gets himself going.
Aitken should be scared because his rookie partner in the Renault Academy nearly beat him.
Yeah, and that's tough. And you really need to stand out to be given any sniff of a chance. And being part of a Renault Academy is not the greatest at the moment, because obviously they have no real ties to a junior or sub team within Formula 1 like Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull do. So
although with the whole engine rule coming coming up, I think that could change, personally.
It could do, but as of this moment, the likes of Zhao and Aitken, it is a difficult one because you'd look at Ocon and Ricciardo, and unless Ricciardo leaves, you can't really see any opening happening there. So it becomes tough for them to find a seat with no clear path into Formula 1. But Campos, for me, are a solid midfield team. The driver would have to have an outstanding season to challenge for it, but they'd be unlikely to be challenging for the team championship. So we'll move on to next, the Salbo Junior Charouz team. We have to use their full name, don't we? You can't just call them the Salbo Junior team.
Everyone calls them Salbo, or some call them Charouz. It's actually Salbo Junior team by Charouz. Butchering that last bit, or is it Charoz or Charouz?
We'll go Charouz. It sounds a bit more exotic that way. But again, they are a team that do genuinely take it as an F1 feeder series. They usually give kind of young talent a go rather than trying to compete for the F2 team title itself. Solid kind of midfield team. They can challenge for points and give a platform for drivers to perform and kick on, like Callum Ilott obviously has progressed.
Well, not just Callum Ilott, but they seem to be one of the teams that Ferrari uses as one of their junior, we'll stick you here because Prem has run out of room team.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem they've done that with this year's drivers lineup, because it looks like the driver lineup will be Louis Delatraz and Pedro Piquet.
I thought Giuliano Alesi was with them.
No, I think Alesi is with HWA.
Oh, you could be right. Yeah, you are.
So, yeah, it doesn't look like they've gone that way. And for me, I think this year, Pedro Piquet, not to expect too much from him. It's a big step up from there, but it will be the platform for Louis Delatraz to see whether he still has a shot at doing anything within F2 progressing to F1.
Unfortunately, I have to say that as much as I love Ocon, he has ruined the feeder series in a way of fans now expect a good driver to win straight away, or else they're not that good.
Yeah. They just expect, if you don't win it in your first year, you're a nobody, which isn't really the case, because it is a very different car to anything they would have raced before, and it takes time to adapt to that.
The F3 car is more like an F1 car than the F2 car.
Yeah. So it does take time. Yes, you had the Charles Leclerc, you had George Russell and Lando Norris, who all adapted quite well and kicked on from there. But yes, it seems unlikely that you're going to get a rookie win this year. And we'll talk about it more when we talk about the drivers. But yeah, the rookies, you'd probably say, would be Marcus Armstrong and Robert Schwartzman, if either of them have an opportunity to do that. But yeah, Charouz are another team to kind of, Salbo Junior team, Charouz Racing, they're another midfield team, but look at them as like a development team for drivers rather than expecting them to be challenging within races.
I would say they're a stepping stone team in F2. You spend your first year there before hopefully getting signed to one of the big boys. Exactly.
Which obviously Callum Ilott has done from last year to this year. We now move on to MP Motorsport, and obviously they had the GOAT this year in Raghunathan, and
let's be honest, they're a karting rental team. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if me or you would turn up with £500,000 and say, I want to go racing for a season.
Yeah, I would be incredibly surprised if we do see Raghunathan in that team this year. And who's the other driver? King, what's his first name?
Jordan King.
Yeah, Jordan King. Obviously, a competent driver at that level, but no real prospects of going any further.
He's never going to leave F2, let's be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't... Like the team we spoke about before with Salbo, it doesn't seem to be a team that's really promoting youngsters, but then at the same time it isn't really a team that's competing for the title. So it's a bit of a weird team within Formula 2.
Yeah, it seems like a team that is very... It's where drivers who don't get signed by a junior team and who don't get signed by a F1 team as a development driver, or drivers that aren't good enough to be sponsored, go to die.
Yeah, probably a fair shout.
For their careers to slowly fizzle out before they get a day job.
Indeed, although you think with some of them maybe it is like Giotta's done, it opens up doors for other series like Nick de Vries. I mean, Nick de Vries won and managed to secure a Formula E seat, but you know there are other options that are open to them now. F2, not just F1, although that is the primary focus of the series.
Yeah, but that's my opinion on MP Motorsports, because I mean, Artem Markelov still races with them every so often. He's someone that I don't think will ever leave F2 either. Well,
he won't be racing for them next year, because that moves us on probably quite nicely to HWA Race Lab, and they suddenly gave Artem Markelov, I think this will be his 7th season competing in Formula 2 with Giuliano Alessi.
F1. So he's racing with Giuliano Alessi?
Yep.
But I would say he's not good enough for F1.
Nope.
He's a more competent Sean Gallale.
That's probably a fair shout. I think literally because HWA... so Arden, obviously, who were a long-standing team within Formula 2, well, actually, it was F3000 where they had their success, failed really to do anything when it was under the GP2 banner, and have just slowly failed.
I wouldn't say they failed. I mean, if you look at the championship, they actually did okay.
Well, not over the whole of GP2, but you know, considering the last years of F3000, I think they won 2 or 3 of the constructor titles out of the last 3 years of that series.
Is a nice way to put it.
Yeah, they've been on the down, and eventually they've just kind of run out, and they've stopped going racing. So they've been taking over HWA Race Lab, which some people may recognise, which was kind of Mercedes guys in Formula E, until obviously they've properly turned into a Formula E team this year.
They're Diet Mercedes.
Yeah, they're Diet Mercedes. So I think we were discussing this pre-recording, so we'll put them there. They're an interesting team, I think, to look out for the future, because Mercedes don't necessarily have any linked team, and if they invest more in a junior academy, which would make sense as the other guys around them do.
Yeah. I can see them using it not just for F1, but for Formula E.
Yeah. So, back in like maybe a Nick de Vries or something like that, and just, bringing their feeder through. Can they go into F1 with Williams, which may make it more difficult with the likes of Williams sponsored drivers, because obviously Latifi has that, but obviously George Russell is very much linked to the Mercedes Academy, isn't he? So yeah, HWA, probably don't expect much from them this year, especially with the driver lineup that they've got. Giuliano Alessi is the only one you'd go, he's probably isn't good enough, but obviously has heritage in F1 with his dad being an F1 driver in the 90s.
He could shock and impress, but I don't mean by winning. I mean by being regularly in the top 8.
Yeah, that would be the type of impressive performance for HWA, I think.
Yeah. So I think they've gone with drivers that, well, in Automotive, they've gone with a driver who knows the sport, who can help their mechanics get better.
Yeah.
And with Lacey, they've gone with someone who's going to give them a boost of funding.
Absolutely, yeah. With obviously being linked to the Ferrari Academy.
Well. I think that moves us on to the last team.
I think it does. And so, yeah, guys, moving on to the last team. And that is... Oh, God, look, I've had a mind blank. It's Trident. There we go.
Trident.
How could we forget Trident? So, Trident really are... fair back mark... Are they fair back markers? They're not really, because obviously Tatiana and MP Motorsport, Raganathan were back there, but Trident are a bit of a midfield to lower team within the series, certainly.
I mean, I'd say that Trident are mainly famous for the Arjun Maini Santino Ferrucci incident a couple years back.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's the main reason why people will recognise that name.
But other than that, they are just... They don't really have any links.
History in their F2 history is woeful.
Yeah.
10th with 9 points in their first year. Second year, 10th with 37 points. And this year, 10th with 23 points.
And in the same spec series, although like we said at the start, although it is same spec, with funding that comes in through drivers backed by F1 team academies, or just, you know, in general, supported a little bit better through success. Yeah, they're just one of those teams.
There's a reason why teams pick those teams for their drivers. It's not because they like the name. It's because those teams have different levels of infrastructure to support their drivers.
Exactly. And Trident are very basic within that. And again, they don't really... They kind of seem to be the team that if you're struggling to scrape through the money, you might get a seat at Trident. And also, if there's a team that want to kind of put in a driver from F3 or another junior series for a couple of races or so throughout, Trident seems to be that sort of team.
Trident seems to be very cheap. I think Renault used them for one race to test out Lundgaard at the end of the season.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because was it Bichon?
Bichon.
Yeah,
couldn't complete it.
His sponsors had pulled out money, so yeah, he wasn't able to race on that front.
But I mean, I guess we'll talk about Lundgaard later because he's a driver I'd love to talk about more.
Exactly. So that kind of rounds off the teams from F2, and I hope that gives you guys a little bit more understanding of who they are, what to maybe expect from them in F2 next year. Obviously, we have mentioned the confirmed drivers there and some brief thoughts on that, but like we said, we're obviously with Mark on the channel now, and we are going to cover F2 and F3 in particular in a lot more detail this year, which we're very excited to do. So yeah, hopefully that's kind of a nice little kind of taster into things, and next week we'll be looking at the F3 teams in more detail. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. We'll say bye from me and Mark here, and for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.